The Vancouver Canucks continue to make roster moves by placing players on injury reserves and recalling a rookie. I'll get into that later on this episode, plus a stat that's a little surprising. But before I do, I just want to say thank you guys for helping us reach 825 subscribers. It's awesome to see that this channel is just 3 weeks old. You guys are enjoying the content, subscribing, commenting, and just watching the videos. We're going to try to reach 1,000 by Friday. If you guys aren't not yet subscribed, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We're going to be here all season long giving you updates from all around the Canucks, from prospect recaps, game recaps, trades, rumors, anything you can think of. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Canucks make roster moves. So this did come out today on the Vancouver Canucks PR. General Manager Patrik Allvin announced the following roster moves. Dakota Joshua placed on retroactive injury reserves, Carson Soucy placed on retroactive LTIR, and Jett Woo called up from Abottsford. When you do look at this is quite a few moves just to make in one day. Obviously, Soucy and Dakota Joshua have been out for quite some time. Not so much Joshua, but more Soucy. But when you do look at this, it's starting to look like a lot of players are dealing with injuries. They had to clear up room and just make room to get a guy like Jett Woo up. Soucy's move is retroactive since he's already missed more than minimum of 10 games and 24 days that the LTIR stint requires. He suffered a suspected fractured hand January 2nd against Toronto, and the expected time to be out was 5 to 6 weeks. He's been out for 4 weeks so far, so it could be just as many as 2 more weeks till Soucy comes back. Obviously, Soucy coming back is a big thing the Canucks are looking for. Getting this guy back in the lineup will pretty much get you a look at what the Canucks playoffs lines will look like, or defensive pairings look like, I should say. And him being out, we haven't got to see that really since the 4 weeks that he's been out, since he suffered his injury. They also continue on to say that Joshua has also suffered a hand injury in the fight last week. We've seen this happen against Chicago. The Canucks have announced that he's out week to week, though a source suggests his timeline is most similar to Soucy's. So when you do look at this as well, Soucy was projected to be out 5 to 6 weeks. So it seemed like the Canucks will be without Dakota Joshua for this 5 to week span. He's already about a week into this, so it should be roughly 4 to 5 more weeks till we see him back. Now, when you do look at this, the last 4 games not having Dakota Joshua on the lineup, the Canucks are 1-3. They won 4-1 against the Red Wings, lost 4-2 against the Jets, lost 10-7 against the Wild, and lost 3-1 against Colorado. Obviously, the road trip coming up is just going to be concluded, playing against the Kraken, and then they have a bit of a homestand playing the Bruins, the Penguins, the Kings. Seeing all these teams here, there's a lot of good teams. You look at the Kraken, they are a respectable team. This is not a team you can push around. But when you do get into it more farther, when they get to the homestand, the Bruins are one of the top teams in the NHL. The Penguins are a team fighting to get a playoff spot. And the Kings are a team that's fighting to keep a playoff spot, get home ice advantage. It's going to be a tough 4 to 5 game span. And not having Dakota Joshua on here is seeming like it's really impacting this team. I mean, right now, the team, like I said, is 1-3 without him. And it seems like the bottom 6 is really lacking the physicality, the energy, and just that third line hasn't looked as great as it has been when you put a guy like Dakota Joshua in here with him. So getting him back is going to be big. I think this next 4 to 5 weeks is going to be tough on the Canucks, especially if they don't address this. If a player doesn't step up and really take over this third line. Maybe they go out and pick up a guy like Michael Boeser that I've recently did a video on. If they can get him for a cheap option, just get a workhorse, run through the wall type of player, I think he'd be the perfect fit if you can get him for a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, maybe a low-end prospect. Whatever it takes, I think the Canucks need to address the physicality in the bottom 6 because right now it's not looking great without him. And if he does go down with another injury going into the playoffs, you don't really have that replacement. I mean, you're not only dealing with injuries with Joshua and a guy like Soucy, you're also seeing both Noah Juulsen and Niktia Zadorov, who took knocks in Thursday's 3-1 loss to Colorado. So either are possibly dealing with an injury as well, but another defenseman could be dealing with an issue as well on top of that. So right now you're seeing Jett Woo was recalled, and he did get called up for the 2nd time this season. And like I said with this, obviously, with Jett Woo being called up, there's some kind of concern. We're seeing 2 players placed on IR. This was to make room to get a guy like Jett Woo up. And then obviously we're seeing a bit of lingering injuries with a guy like Zadorov and Noah Juulsen. even though both have looked good, it's just a little concerning to know that they were banged up. They did finish the game, but knowing that they were possibly dealing with injuries, with having Soucy, with having Dakota Joshua, and having this rough stretch of the next 4 games for the Canucks, it's going to be a big time for a player to step up. I mean, right now, like I said, you have Quinn Hughes, Tyler Myers, Hronek, Zadorov, who might be injured. A guy like Ian Cole still in the lineup. Mark Friedman can draw in as the 6th defenseman. And a guy like Noah Juulsen that's out. So maybe the Canucks are looking at this and saying, hey, we have 2 guys that are possibly out with an injury. We're going to recall Jett Woo. You can slide him into this lineup. Maybe a guy like Friedman comes in. I do think Jett might get his possible debut against maybe the Kraken. I mean, he could come in against the Bruins, which might be a tough game to come in, especially if you have a guy like Bains in the lineup. You don't want to have 2 rookies, throw them to the dogs like a team like the Bruins. Maybe he gets a debut against the Penguins. Who really knows? I mean, what's your guys' thoughts on this? Would you rather have Jett Woo come in? Would you rather him just come up and be around the team and keep a guy like Friedman in? Would you rather get a guy like Zadorov a break just in case he is dealing with an injury? Same with Noah Juulsen, or would you rather just put him in, let him play through it? If anything does happen, that's when you would look at getting a guy like Friedman or a guy like Jett Woo into the lineup. Now, the second part is the rookies haven't really made an impact yet. So when you do look at this, I am mostly talking about Bains. Last game against Colorado, obviously Bains went -2, 2 PIMs, 2 shots, 3 hits. He didn't have the game that everyone wanted. Obviously the rookies this season haven't been outstanding, but I mean the big thing with this is you look at the competition that Bains was faced just at the end of the second period. So as you can see, Bains did play 13 minutes and 21 seconds, but his competition was some of the top of the team. Cale Makari played 4 minutes and 4 seconds against Taves, 352, Drew in 352, Ranton in 327, Nathan McKinnon 325. When you look at this, you just know the Avs knew what they were doing. They've seen a rookie come in. This is a guy that's going to be prone to mistakes. Obviously, he's a pro. He's been outstanding in the AHL, but he was going to be nervous coming in playing for the team of Vancouver while he is from Surrey, BC. So obviously there was a bit of jitters, and the Colorado Avalanche took advantage of this. He was on the ice for 2 goals against. You can't put the full blame. This is the team sport. Obviously, you can say he shouldn't have done something on the ice that he could have done to prevent it, but you can't put the full blame on him. But when you do look at the stats from rookies as a whole, the Florida Panthers and Vancouver Canucks are the only teams in the NHL without a point from a rookie this season. Panthers have used 2 rookies, which was 10 games, and the Canucks before this past game with Bains have used 3 rookies for 8 games, which would be 4 rookies for 9 now. And if a guy like Jett Woo does slide into the lineup, obviously this would bump up to 10 rookies in 10 or 5 rookies in 10 games. So this was a bit of an interesting stat. Obviously, if you're keeping a guy like Bains in the lineup, if Jett Woo is going to get into the lineup, it's bound to happen if one of these guys to put up a point. I could see Bains maybe coming back into this lineup against Seattle, against the Bruins, getting his footing in. This is a guy that I think could be a high impact player. If you can unlock what he had in the AHL into the NHL, I think it's a perfect guy for the bottom 6. Maybe you try him in the top 6. Whatever it might be, one of these guys have to put up a point. You can't just run the entire season of being one of only 2 teams not to have a rookie point. I think it's bound to happen. Like I said, maybe Jett Woo comes in against Seattle, scores a goal. Who knows? What's your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think it's crazy that the Canucks are the only 2 of one of only 2? Are you not surprised? And do you think getting Jett Woo and Bains into the same game is a good idea? Or do you think it's a bad idea and you should kind of split them up, get them in for 1 more game each, send them back down, help them in Abottsford, just push for the playoffs, and then just see what you have with your current roster. But that'll be it for this episode of Canucks Digest. If you enjoyed, make sure to go down, hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave a comment. I love reading through the comments. Let me know your favorite Vancouver Canucks player currently of all time. I'd love to read through it. I mean, right now, Henrik Sedin is one of my favorites. I have his jersey behind me, if you can see that there. Luongo is a close second, though. But that would be it for this episode. Like I said, we're so close to 1,000. Make sure to go down, hit the subscribe button, but take care.